worth of investment, a streetcar. We was named a few years ago the Great American Main Street by the National Historic Trust. And so now we're Great American Main Street, and we attracted over 370 businesses. So we're doing very well. Even the post-pandemic, we're still doing well. We've attracted more businesses post-pandemic, and that's our charge. Our charge is to bring back neighborhood commercial districts. I go throughout the country, talking to other neighborhoods, other communities to do the same.
You all remember when Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, right? In '68? And what he's doing now is redeveloping that neighborhood that was totally
Destroyed.
gutted,
Yeah.
destroyed by fire and neglect. And he's one of the leading, I guess, administrators in the whole city. He's getting awards, and 8th Street has come back. Have you seen 8th Street?
Not for 20 years.
You wouldn't recognize some of it.
Better go, huh?
Okay.
Okay.
You bring it?
Excuse me. Good afternoon. I'm Ibrahim Movement, and I'm also a member of the Board of Advisors here at Masjid Muhammed. And my wife is also part of the team right there. We both joined the community in 1973, so this year we're celebrating 50 years of being a part of this community. We're blessed and fortunate. My wife worked in the White House. She was the first Muslim to work in the White House, directed for President Johnson, Nixon, and Carter. I guess I'm a semi-retired community economic development consultant. In addition to that, I should tell you that we live about 4 blocks from here. We're one of the few people who live within walking distance of the Masjid. When the Masjid was first built in 1960, the DC was in a crisis going down. It was accelerated after Martin Luther King was killed. This neighborhood is called Shaw, and a lot of buildings that they were destroyed. And, I was involved with trying to renovate and redevelop the neighborhood, and I've been involved with the fight against drugs, trying to come up with ideas for affordable housing, and doing other things. And I should just let you know before we go to the next person, I came to the Nation of Islam in 1973 after being involved in Columbus, Georgia, my hometown. I was a student activist. In the 10th grade, I got arrested, locked up, trying to go to an all-white library there, and that started my career of activism going forward, and got involved with the student movement at Howard University in the 60s. In 1985, I had the pleasure of getting locked up in front of the South African embassy when we were trying to get Mandela and political prisoners out of jail, and just been involved with a lot of progressive issues, including gun violence and other things. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And I assume that everybody's English speaking in this group. Is that right? Okay.
But can you imagine a colored boy going into a library and trying to check out a book?
Yeah.
We couldn't do that
Yeah.
in the South and other places. And that in the movie, what's the movie with the sisters who did the rocket? Who were the calculator?
Hidden Figures.
Yeah, Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
Hidden Figures. Yeah, remember she had to
Yeah.
sneak a book out so she could learn Fortran?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to introduce our sisters here and the rest of our staff. Cheryl.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Cheryl Hawkins. My husband Rodney and I have been members here at Masjid Muhammad for over 20 years now. I work 2 jobs, actually. One, I work at the University of the District of Columbia with their cable television station. I'm program production coordinator there and a senior producer. And I have a nonprofit media arts organization that I work with. And currently we are in the middle of a 3-part series Women's History Month program where we're honoring actress and author Ruby Dee. I don't know if you're familiar with Ruby Dee. Yeah, we're calling it Ruby at 100 because past October, she would have been 100 years old. And when that dawned on me, I thought, wow, I need to honor her because she's the reason why I got into theater, television, and I got a chance to meet her and work with her some years ago. So, been working a lot with my sister Carol here on some film and media projects, and I'm just honored to be here to sit with you all to meet, chit chat, and learn about what you do.
Cheryl's very modest. She's also the producer of the longest running book review show on cable television, some 20 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's an honor to be able to work with her. Okay. And I'm Carol Mookman. Of course, you met my husband, Ibrahim. I'm the one that I served during Johnson, Nixon, and Carter administrations in the White House. I became the first Muslim to work directly for a United States president. I worked in presidential personnel and in communications, where as a result, I ended up producing, and I produced my first television series for NBC called The Prime of My Life, and it went nationwide. So after that, my career was on. I'm also one of the authors of the lookbook with my sister, Saisa Neal, a beautiful, beautiful sister also to work with. I've been very fortunate.
What is the lookbook?
The lookbook, it's called Treasured Moments, 85 Years of Service for the Believers of Masjid, Muhammed. And so it's really a picture book, but it's the history of Masjid Muhammad in terms of how we were founded, when we were founded, who were the founders, some of the earlier pioneers, and then it comes up to the different projects that we have, that we, how can we say, the committees that we work with right now in our community, the families in our community, the educational programs and whatnot. It's just at a glance almost, but I encourage you to take a look.
And they are available in the bookstore, in the office?
That was my
Yes.
For purchase, you want to take some back?
Yes. So, I've been here 50 years now, since converting to Al-Islam, and it's a wonderful experience. I have worked with just about all the committees and all of the sisters during the earlier times. You know, the sisters and the brothers, we didn't work together. It was the sisters doing this and the brothers doing that. But because of that, I would meet my husband, and we've been married for 42 years, so it was a good process. Okay.
How was your experience at White House?
It was because I was one of the early African Americans working in the White House. You can imagine it was heavenly, because there weren't too many of us. So, you know, there was no threat at the time. And of course I didn't understand. I was very young, didn't understand. I was given just the freedom that you cannot imagine. For example, because I was the only African American in that area at the time, word would get around. And so I would have brothers and sisters who were business owners come to me and say, I've got a contract for my meat packing plant. Can you help me? And I was so young at the time. And I'd say, and it's going to provide jobs for minorities and et cetera. So I said, give it to me. And I would take it to my boss, and I'd say, these are some people that need this money. We need to give it to them. And he'd pick up the phone, because we're in the White House, and call the agency and say, you got a so-and-so over there for some money, $10 million contract, fund them. Bam. So for me, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, because I grew. I was so young when I started, and then I began to see what authority you had and what you had from working at that level of government. So it was quite an experience. I ended up doing my first television series. It was a first for a lot of things for me.
Okay. I'm Kafi Knox McDowell. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at Masjid Muhammed. I wear many hats. Let me see. I'm second generation Muslim. So it's been such a wonderful experience for me, experiencing all of these people that you see on the other side of the table, you know, growing in the community and seeing all of the things that they have contributed to human life, not just Muslim life. I am, what else about Kafi? I work with young people. Now at the Masjid, I work with older people, which is such a beautiful experience. What else? There's probably more stuff, and I am a board member.
Where'd you grow up?
Masjid Muhammad. I grew up in Philadelphia. Thank you guys.
This is the result of Coffee as well. She was the one who investigated how we were going to get it done, determined what the pricing. She's phenomenal. Trust me. She's a very important wheel in this boat.
And being a younger person, I think that the opportunity to be able to, we're like a conduit or like a bridge for the different age groups. And I think in a lot of religious communities, from our experience, we do a lot of interfaith here, so we get a chance to be able to communicate and experience other communities. So through that experience, a lot of young people are not as involved in community and religious life like they used to be, and it's a blessing, but you also get to see how you are a conduit between the age groups to be able to bring them into another experience, because the world is changing so fast. So it's a blessing for me to be in that space, to be able to be that person, to be able to say, okay, we need to get this done. Let me try to see the most economical, of course I'm a financial officer, and the most perfect way, so we can put out a beautiful product for our community. Welcome, and thank you for visiting us.
Let me just say, as Carol said, she's modest. One of the great assets we have in Coffee is that she's the chief financial officer, and many masjids and community centers don't have a person like that who can manage the money. You know, we've got two major projects going. We got a $50 million project going in Southeast Washington now, 81 units of affordable housing, and the Masjid is in the process of an expansion of about $7 million project, and Coffee keeps us on point, you know, making sure that every penny is accounted for. Because one of the things that happens in this situation is that you have a lot of people, if you don't have any money, people ignore you. But when you get money, you have people start coming at you and want to see audits and other kind of things. She makes sure that all of the T's are crossed and the dots are I. What do you call it? I's are dotted.
Right.
Does everyone introduce themselves?
No.
Oh, sure.
And I'm going to stand up. I just want to welcome you all to Masjid Muhammad. When that building was actually erected, I was 2. So I was born into this community. And one of the blessings is you always had a surrogate mother, teacher, father, and you just felt good about yourself, good about how it is to help others. And that's something that's ingrained within me. You can't buy that or sell it. That's priceless. So I love learning. And for 32 years, I had worked as a respiratory therapist. All of you know what that is now, right? So I've met so many people at the beginning of their lives, in the NICU, all the way to the end when I help to discontinue life support. I currently am a co-chair, Brother Kadir, with the Masjid Muhammad Health and Human Services Committee. Over the years, I've worked with security for hospitality because I love people. So anything we can do for you while you're here with your stay, please let us know. Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, Kadir Abdul Salam Albert introduced me to you outside. I'm also on the board of advisors. The National Director of Interfaith Relations at Masjid Muhammad. I'm also the co-chair of the Health and Human Services team. Professionally, I'm retired 40 plus years as a radiology technologist, imaging specialist from New York to Washington, D.C. area. I began my Islamic duties in New York, and I was a school board member as a member of the Masjid in Bronx and in Harlem. And so I moved here, been here 30 plus years, and have a wife and 4 children and 12 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. It's a blessing. And I'm here to be service to the community, and especially with the interfaith, where we are building bridges and peace building and interacting and joining those who their belief is in one God, and the future looks bright. So we thank you for coming here, and we hopefully we'll have a few more hours together and enjoy a few more prayer. So we're going to open with a prayer so we can begin.
We'll come back and ask them who they are, but I will give the introduction to me.
Yeah.
Fine?
Oh,
Yeah, after prayer.
after prayer. Okay. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Praise be to God, the Lord and cherisher of the world, the most merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Thee alone do we worship, as our aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those whose portion is not wrath, and go not astray. The master of the day of judgment. Thee alone do we serve, and show us the straight way, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, nor those who go astray. Amen. Amen.
Okay, now we're about to eat, but we also want to continue this introduction, this relationship business. So I know you have questions. If I already answered one question. So feel free to dig in, and then take a pause if you have a question, but before you question, let us know who you are. Okay? I'm going to say, again, there are a lot of relationship building that has happened in the history of 85 years. And I was going to point out a booklet, and I'm going to pass this around, because copy is in this book. Copy. This is a relationship with the Latter-day Saints. Okay? With the Latter-day Saints in the Muslim business. Okay, so again, I want to let you know that there's a lot of relationships going on. So you can take a look at this, and you'll see copy of this book.
And our fee is highlighted in the book.
Yeah, yes, it's here. That's it.
Well, actually, we helped to put that book together.
Yes.
So it wasn't just, it was a combination of us. There was a Shiite community, along with the Latter-day Saints.
Let me just say, there's hand sanitizer on the table, and if anybody needs to use the restroom, it's right back behind Kadir.
Okay. Emily, you wanna?
Assalamu alaikum
Aloha.
and aloha,
Aloha.
which in Hawaiian means alo is the giving and receiving and being present with, and ha means breath, the breath of life. And so aloha, we are here together, the giving and the receiving of the breath of life, and we are united in that. So mahalo nui loa. And very significant for somebody who helps the beginning and the ending of breath and life. Thank you. So we're here with the East-West Center, which has a small office in Washington, D.C., and a large office in Honolulu that was founded in 1960. You may be familiar with Barack Obama's mother, having been a graduate student and fellow at the East-West Center. So Obama played around the pond behind the East-West Center, where sacred waters from the most sacred mountain in Oahu come down. So he played by those sacred waters of Waikampua, which is the water of the god. And so there are a lot of linkages and relationships that we see weave together. The East-West Center, in particularly our programs and seminars in journalism, the intent is to really create spaces for journalists and community members and those in policy and government, definitely in civil society, to come together and to deepen understanding, recognition, to have discussion and time together where we see each other as human beings and can go deeper than a lot of the superficial headlines that come across. And in the senior journalist seminars, we're focused, it's funded by the Doris Duke Foundation, and the overarching theme is religion's impact on society. And this is the 20th and possibly the final year for this program.
Oh, wow.
We shall see. Maybe we can keep it going. It's evolving. And we have really developed the concept of different faith and spiritual engagement around the concept of the body. But the body as the individual body, as gift, right, and responsibility. The body as family, community, civil society, government, and earth body. And all of those relationships. And we see how you are working in that way as well. I'll give an opportunity, of course, for each of these journalists who come from West Africa and South Asia and Australia and Cambridge, and that's just one person. It's Southeast Asia and East Asia, to share their stories. We're delighted and honored to be here, and on a personal note, and I can't help it, I'm extremely moved to be here. I've been out of the country in Africa, Europe, Haiti, and Asia for most of my adulthood. But I was raised in a family. My father is a minister who may have been on some of those same student trips with you. He wasn't a minister yet, and he worked with the National Council of Churches. We were a rare, interracial, as it was called at the time, adoptive family in the 60s and 70s. My father also worked in economic, social, environmental justice, as my mother as well, and in child protection, and health and family and community. And my father, I was born in Philadelphia, early, yeah, and so was my sister, and we're adopted, so we're from different webs of family, but we are all family. And in New York, my father was responsible for, it was part of National Council of Churches, but an interfaith center, so I grew up in an interfaith space. I have a brother who's an African-American imam. I really wanted to bring him. And there are Buddhists and Christians and a real diversity just among my siblings. So we're a bit of an interfaith community just in my family. But my parents taught me and taught all of us the real significance and importance of the work that your founders did.
But you feel like you're home here.
I feel like I'm home. That's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm home, and I'm so Thank you so much. Thank you.
You have a lot of connections.
Yes.
My father also Baptist minister.
Really, same. American Baptist.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
who we have here now?
My name is Omolara from Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa. Though I'm a Christian, but my father came from a Muslim family. He was the only Christian out of 9 siblings.
Wow.
And my maiden name before marriage was, there's a way Nigerians localize Arabic name. Hamad was called Amodu down there in West Africa. So I'm familiar with, in Nigeria, Southwest Nigeria, Muslims and Christians cohabit just like families. Yeah. In a family you can have 10 Muslims, 2 Christians, some have 10 Christians, 2 Muslims, and that's how we rule. So, quiet. I'm at home. Thank you for having us.
Maybe mention your news agency too?
Oh, I work for Radio Nigeria. Nigeria is a public broadcaster, and we are the largest radio network in Africa.
So you're a broadcaster?
I'm a reporter.
Oh, so you all having something in common.
Yeah.
You should know my brother did, what do you call it, Ancestry.com, and our family came from Nigeria.
Oh, that's nice.
So, do you have a particular area that you report on?
Politics, government, civil societies, and crime, judiciary. And
Wow.
I've done a lot.
Yeah, my goodness. Did you major in
Mass communication.
in mass communication? Go on, that's beautiful. Okay, now.
I'm so delighted to be here, and like Emily says, this feels like home. So I know Emily just said I'm from Cambridge, Massachusetts, but that's like part of my story. Identities these days are more complicated than that. I grew up in India, and I grew up in a Jain family. I don't know how many people know what Jainism is. It's a philosophy like Buddhism, and Gandhi got his ahimsa from the Jains. His mother was a Jain, and he learned non-injury. We all, just by virtue of living, we injure human beings, plants, animals, everyone. So the philosophy of Jains is you try and reduce that injury as best as possible. Like my mother wouldn't eat potatoes because that contains the food for the plant. So that's like the Jain philosophy. That's the household I grew up in. And in the India I was growing up in, it was a post-independence India. And there was a real communal feeling, you know. We used to go to, my parents taught us just so many things, and part of it was also, women couldn't go into mosques, but we used to worship, go into Sufi shrines. So that's part of my background, and I went into journalism. I worked for, it's a big newspaper in India called the Times of India.
Okay.
And I worked there for many, many years.
So
Imam W.D. Muhammad did a lecture, an article on Jacob, James, and metaphysics. I can't remember what he said, but I can always look it up, right?
Yeah,
But
that-
he was interested in Jainism, and that's one reason why we just adulate him, adore him so much, because he was exposed to everything good
Yeah.
and about the human beings' attempt to reach and serve the Creator.
And I see the metaphysical part of it because of the Jain's concept of what is true and our imperfections as human beings and how we can never get to the real truth. And there's just so many multiple sides to truth, and there's a whole very detailed philosophy around the 8 kinds of truth. Anyway, so now I live here. I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts. You know, I came to the United States as a journalist, and I went and got a degree in theology at Harvard.
At Harvard?
Mm-hmm.
After, yeah.
Yeah, I have views about Harvard, but we can talk another time about that. But it was a good education. And I work at a publication called The Conversation, where we get The Conversation. So we get scholars to write, and not just opinion pieces, but scholars to write about their research. And one of the things that I try to do, given there is, as Pew reports say, I'm not saying this, a lot of Americans don't really know much about Islam or Muslims. So this is one of the things that I really try and do, and that's why maybe I have so many questions, is unpack for an American audience the diversity of Muslim Americans. That's one of the things I do. But other than that, I mean, I used to cover public health back in India, and then I used to say, I can see the whole world through the lens of public health. Now I say I can see the whole world through the lens of religion, be it foreign policy, politics, culture, society. There is just, religion brings everything into it.
This is
So,
good. Appreciate it. Glad to have you.
thank you.
You're
I
enriching us.
just want to say,
So pleased to be here.
we're a member of the Interfaith Council of Metropolitan Washington, which is one of the oldest faith councils in the country, and Jain is one of the religions. So I'm a little familiar, but I'm still learning. So hopefully you can help me out a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just so happy to be here.
And Carol, my wife, was one of the founding members of the Interfaith Conference in Metropolitan Washington.
Let's see.
That's right. That's history. This is journey.
It's such a rich community.
Okay.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. I just found some pictures when I was 2 or 3 years old. I'm born in the border between China and North Korea, but when I was 2 until the 6, my parents shipped to Xinjiang. Actually, it's in Kashgar. It's a very big Muslim community. Yes, so I grew up in such ambiance, and I know. I read, even when I was a child, I read the Chinese Quran. I know there was a lot of books in my house. And I'm now working as the chief international correspondent for the oldest Chinese newspaper. I live in both in Beijing and Hong Kong. And I travel frequently to Southeast Asia and Africa. We have a bureau in Cape Town. And I just finished my trip to Egypt, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
And I think all of you know there was breaking news this morning. China's helped the Iran and Saudi Arabia to shape the relationship. I think it's kind of very huge impact for the Muslim world. I also want to discussion what's your thinking about the Chinese roles, and also maybe you know what's happening in Xinjiang. Some people said they're suffering, the Muslims in Xinjiang are suffering. And from my point of view, yes, there were some economies down, but not only Xinjiang, whole China, the economy and the tension between the states. So that's that's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't say.
And Chakra.
We were just talking, Judge Elamina, before you guys came, he's on his way to Morocco for Ramadan. But in 1978, I was blessed to be in China for 3 weeks. I went to Beijing, Suzhou, Wuhan, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. And I would love to have some conversations with you.
All right. My name is Chan Chai from Thailand. I am a third generation Chinese living in Thailand. My great grandfather moved from both sides. My father and my mother moved from China to Thailand. And I am a reporter for The Nation Thailand. It is the first English language newspaper in Thailand.
Congratulations.
Yes, and most of the time I do world news. I report about Asian affairs, like China, Japan, South Korean economy, and also conflict. And at the same time, I'm trying to promote a better understanding and peaceful solution to all the violence that is happening, to all the argument that's happening around the world. And I'm very delighted to come to United States and to Washington DC and to see all the diversity, because America is one of the most diverse countries in the world, and Thailand, we are trying to become more diverse countries, and there are so many things I can learn from this country.
Yes. Interesting.
Mabuhay, I'm from the Philippines. Mabuhay means long live. And salamat also. Thank you for hosting this dinner, this lunch for the program participants. My name is Dulfo. My first and last names are actually the same. That's Dulfo. So I usually run for student politics. In student councils, I don't I didn't lose in the student politics because of my name. There's easy recall.
They say it's so nice you had to say it twice. Say it twice.
Yes, so I come from Eastern Visayas. It's the ground zero of Super Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. This is actually my second life already, having been able to escape death during that year. It's dubbed as the world's biggest storm to hit Earth. So I'm happy to be able to continue my life and be able to live. Prior to joining the media industry, I was an information officer for the Indigenous Peoples Commission in the Philippines. So indigenous rights and culture is on top of the agenda, or it's really close to my heart. Currently, I work as a senior editor for the Philippines News Agency in Manila. And while I am a Christian, my best friend is a Muslim. He is a photojournalist and is based in Myanmar. And I haven't been able to speak to him for more than a year now because of the crisis in Myanmar, and that hurts in a way. And that's why I always believe that peace, security, and tolerance, acceptance are central and very important in promoting dialogues and understanding in the world, in our society. That's why this program is very close to my heart, and thank you very much for opening the dialogue and raising the discourse in these issues and concerns.
Thank you. Thank you.
Albert, I just want to let them know that we were at the Philippines with the Global Peace Foundation in 2017, myself, Brother Albert, and Emma. And we had a delegation with you, ma'am, and a few others. But we traveled there for a little time, so we were able to.
Yeah, we're engaged on the international scene.
Yeah.
Passe is where we were. And again, it's looking and experimenting, not experimenting, looking, observing best practices in the global humanity towards peace, toward that universal peace that all human beings can experience. And again, we just recently addressed in Bali, we presented the papers, historical grievances. And again, historical grievances is on the platform, so we can look at those injuries that are occurring throughout the human experience. And there's nothing, everything's on the table, including what you mentioned, including the Palestine issue. And we presented those papers because we want to be part of the solution, and not just being a part of the solution standing alone. We were engaged with the president of Indonesia, who opened the door for this R20, G20. Now imagine if the 20 countries continue to do this, R20, G20, and the proposal is for accept the religious community, the R20, as a vehicle to look at what we can do for the solutions of the crisis in humanity. So again, whether it's in Philippines, and we experience it firsthand. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about firsthand. I've never engaged those who actually had to escort us with M16.
Yeah.
And when he said to me, listen, we're here to protect you. Because where we're going, you will need protection. Exactly. So again, I want you to know that we're on that front line of engaging the international community and other communities, historical grievances. Because we know that if we can lift ourselves, and again, our experience is not too far from historical grievances when you look at the African American experience coming through slavery. So if we can do it, we figure, look, man, everybody could do it, all right? So again, we just want to share that with you. Okay.
Hi, assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charles from Singapore. I come from CNA. It's a major news network in Southeast Asia. I'm a senior producer. I make documentaries. I specialize in culture and geopolitiks. In recent years, I've been doing a lot of stories about Muslim communities in Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And it's interesting that Brother Kabir mentioned just now in the prayer about one God, because there's one issue that is quite divisive among the communities in Southeast Asia. So I'll give you an example. So the use of the word Allah in Malaysia, because you have non-Muslim Malays, Christian Malays, who use Allah to mean God, but the Muslim community does not allow them to use the word Allah, because they say that that's unique to Islam, and they want them to change the term for God, and they have been using it for generations, and that's one of the conflicts in Southeast Asia. Yeah, and another issue which I cover a lot is the display of crosses. So in a predominantly Muslim community, if you have a church, the Muslims get offended if they put a cross in front of the church, because they say that it might confuse fellow Muslims and it might make them want to convert to Christianity. So this sort of ultra-conservative views are getting more dominant in Southeast Asia, especially in Malaysia. So these are the sort of topics I cover. And as an anthropologist by training, I believe in immersing myself in the religion, in the culture, to understand from their point of view. So every Ramadan, I make a point to fast with my Muslim colleagues. I fast with them and I break fast with them, and I've always found that as a very meaningful experience. That whole communal experience of going through the fasting and breaking fast together as a community, it's always been a very surreal and beautiful experience for me. And dining with you today, I think is equivalent to that. So thank you for hosting us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Salam alaikum, everyone. Good day and namaste. So I was born in Singapore to biracial parents. Moved to Australia as a teenager, and I call Australia my home now. You know, Australia, like Singapore, is multicultural, multiracial, but has, of course, a lot of issues very similar to the US, but much younger countries, I guess. So they're still exploring where new migrants come in, where they place themselves, where society wants to see them. So I work for this company called Agence France Presse, or AFP. It's a French company, but it's global. It's bigger than the Associated Press, which is
Agence France
Press, yes. So we publish in 6 languages, which is great. So, you know, my stories it goes from English, French, Portuguese, German, Spanish, and Arabic. So, you know, it's really an opportunity to write about issues that could potentially reach other readers in other languages, not just in English. Through my work, I now am based in India, another, again, multicultural, multiracial country, which is also going through a lot of questions about religion and identity as being Indian. So again, to me, it's such an honor to be able to spend time with you here and for inviting us here, because I think there's a lot that I can learn as a journalist and as a person as well in how you have, you know, set up this masjid and gone forward with it. I think it means a lot to me, so thank you.
It's good having you on here. Good. You know, there's no time to kind of consume from start maybe another 4 minutes. But we do have some displays. Will give me an idea